All right, let's begin. So good evening. Welcome to the zoning board meeting of the city of Beacon on today's date of May 21st. My name is Montos Vikertzis and I'll be the acting chair this evening. Our chairman, Jordan Haig, will not be present tonight. Joining us tonight are my fellow board members. Okay. And also joining us tonight is our lovely assistant, Mercedes, and our building inspector, also lovely, and our legal counsel, also lovely. So, the application materials that will be discussed tonight, including the proposed resolution of documents, will all be available on the city website. Also on the city website is our link to our rules of procedures for the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals. But just taking a minute to explain the board's procedures. We will hear each application in order as it is on the agenda. This evening we only have one agenda item that we'll review. For this application, we will hear first from the applicant. We'll open it to the public. I believe you're the applicant, or you're the public? She's the applicant, okay? Anybody who's here, if the public comes, is welcome to make any comments they wish. We ask that comments will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. Keep the comments specific to the application, not specific to anything other or any other person, okay? So with that said, may I please have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Let's get started by reviewing the meeting minutes from the last meeting of April 16th. Did everyone get a chance to review those?
Yes.
Yes.
Any comments, questions, concerns, modifications? Can I have a
No.
motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve?
May I have a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Can I have a motion to open the first agenda item, public hearing?
Moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good evening, Acting Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Taylor Palmer with the law firm of Petty & Fader on behalf of the applicant. Tonight I'm joined by our project traffic and parking consultant, Rich DeAndrea of Colliers Engineering, and Jennifer Roldan of Carvana. As the Acting Chairman stated, we are before you tonight in connection with our public hearing for a parking variance in furtherance of Carvana's applications for special use permit and amended site plan approval involving the proposal to reoccupy the former Healy Hyundai car dealership at 410 Fishkill Avenue, which is right across from Conklin, and then it abuts the Metro North Railway there, or the to-be-abandoned former Beacon line. For benefit of the board and for the public that may be attending in the internet stratosphere, by way of brief background, the property is a 1.3-acre site. It's located on the east side of Fishkill Avenue, across the street from the recently approved mixed-use property at 397 Fishkill Avenue. Actually, the chairman, who's not with us this evening, that's the mixed-use project that he just approved there. The property is presently classified in the city's GB, the General Business District, and it's improved by, of course, the existing automobile dealership, and it was previously tenanted by Healy Hyundai, and that's pursuant to their 1995 site plan approval for automobile sales and repair. It's important because with this application, as we'll explain, there is no, you and I can't bring our vehicles to Carvana to have them repaired, but I'll discuss the distinction in just a minute. The premise is, of course, located in proximity to other automobile-related uses in that section of the Fishkill Avenue corridor. We also, as I mentioned, abut the former Beacon Metro North rail line. Speaking to the distinctions of the Hyundai dealership and Carvana's operations, the more traditional Hyundai car dealership, of course, you could go buy a car, you could bring your car there for repairs. There was sort of, unsolicited, sure, someone could buy a car online and to the extent, but Carvana's website allows purchasers to finalize their purchases for vehicles online, and then they select to pick up their car from this location rather than necessarily accepting delivery at their home. I'm sure you've all seen the single car haulers that may bring vehicles to their property or to an agreed upon location. This is a new sort of program that, or one that's being utilized here, where you buy your vehicle online, set up an appointment, and come to the site. So if a customer does purchase a vehicle online and elects to choose to pick up their vehicle on site, they would schedule a pickup for this location, which process typically takes about 15 minutes. It's really just a pickup site. So Carvana will utilize existing bays. There are no changes proposed to the building whatsoever. They're improving a lot of things, which I'll go through in just a minute, but there are no changes to this building. It really is a re-tenanting of the space, but much more limited operations than Hyundai had, and a lot of planning board improvements that we've been discussing with the board for great extent. So Carvana only expects to deliver about 10 to 15 vehicles total a day. So this is not Taylor calls up, wants to buy a Toyota or a Hyundai or an Audi or whatever. It's, I bought a vehicle online, I've set up a time, and I'm coming in. So it's a very sort of regimented process, keeps it orderly, and also minimizes how many people are coming to and from the site. As I mentioned, unlike the Hyundai dealership before it, Carvana will not be doing any vehicle repairs or service at the property. It's just utilizing those existing bays to sort of prep the cars for someone to pick up their vehicles. The employee count is also significantly reduced, so they'll have about 1/3 of the employees that Hyundai did. So they'll have about 12 to 15 total employees at this site. As we detailed in the narrative and in some of the more materials that we would submit to the planning board, I just wanted to update you on some of the changes that are coming. We've heard from the public, well, not at a public hearing yet, in general about this application. We have some planters and other wheel stops. You're all familiar with the frontage along 52. It's a wide open frontage. There are no curbs, no wheel stops. So we're proposing some planters. The planner and others have suggested these improvements. So we're working with Carvana and the planning board to sort of add additional sort of improvements over the existing conditions, and to create it so there are specific areas where you pull into the site, where you leave the site, where the employees park, and circulation. So this is not just, tonight we're here just about our parking variance, but we're doing a number of other improvements to the site. Additional changes are updating the lighting plans. Some of these lights are the old, like halogen, the big bright bulbs that have been there for some time on Central Hudson poles. So we're working to adjust those to be code compliant as would be required. We again mentioned the adjustments to the circulation throughout the site. We've separated where employees and other folks that would be purchasing the vehicles will come onto the site. And we've also included wayfinding signage to help try and organize that. And most importantly, all deliveries will be kept off of 52. I'm sure you've all seen Hyundai in the past had their deliveries would take place quite literally on 52. These now will be taken off of the state highway into the site. Procedurally, we are a type 2 actions exempt under seeker, and we're before you specifically for our parking variance. Now, I know you're all aware, and I've seen some of you at some of the city council meetings in connection with the considerations. As you may know, the city council is working together with the city planner and city staff at this time to update the city's very good vintage 1970s. I'm sure it's a nice wine, but not as good for parking regulations that were employed for this particular site. So they were established for this zone in the 1970s and 80s. So the city's in the process right now. I thought they were close, and then they had to renotice and send out for an additional 30 days. So they haven't quite got to that point. And of course, the zoning amendment is only as available as it is when it comes into play. If the zoning regulations were adopted, Carvana's application would be zoning compliant. So we wouldn't be before your board in connection with this application. They would be overparked. They're heavily overparked, which Rich will speak to in just a minute, but to steal sort of the easiest talking point from Rich, what we're proposing is 63 total off-street parking spaces where 146 are required. The only way to make this project zoning compliant is to get rid of the buildings. And if you didn't have any buildings, then you wouldn't have any It's a obviously not a workable conclusion, and also it's completely not in line with the ITE guidelines, which Rich will speak to, and what Carvana's actual needs are. So to that effect, when we did what we had, while this is a type 2 action, we brought Rich in to kind of do a parking and traffic circulation analysis so we could try and better the conditions beyond what the board was asking. But we thought it was important to be appearing before you all, not just say, hey, the zoning's going to change, this is why we should do it, this is what we need, this is what we've studied. We wanted to analyze it based on ITE guidelines and also detail what Carvana's actual operations are. So while we are providing 63 total spaces, Carvana's actual demand for daily operations is only 29 spaces. So we're still significantly overparked. The new zoning would be zoning compliant. But for our purposes, there's a number of factors: the unique operations, the limited number of employees, the short pre-scheduled pickups. It's just a very limited operation over existing conditions. And again, there's an existing site plan that could continue to operate. That Healy could keep doing so to speak, what they're doing. But this application, and Carvana has been working directly with the board to update everything to make this a better project all around. So we are before you tonight for a parking variance. As Rich will speak to, the parking that we're requesting is it's well in excess of what we're proposing. And I would note that at the last planning board meeting, the city planner did note, and I'll just quote her comments directly at the 514 meeting. She said, regarding the parking requirement, the most important number is what they anticipate to be their need for the parking, which appears to be much less than the 63 they're providing. That, with the consideration of potentially revised parking regulations and ITE standards, I think from a planning perspective, you wouldn't want someone to provide more parking on their site than they need to provide or that they will use. So I think from a planning perspective, that area variance for parking is very much supportable. So I just wanted to relay that to you all. That's been a consistent discussion. The board, I think, was generally in favor of this, understanding what we're working for, or working to do, and really re-tenant this space. So I'll ask Rich just to kind of walk through the parking numbers with you all, and then certainly we're here. And of course, Jennifer from Carvana's here in case there's any questions about Carvana's operations.
Thank you.
As is typical, I'm not really sure I have much else to talk about because Taylor hit on everything, but I'll give you the rundown of what was in our parking and access and circulation assessment for this project. So, in focusing on the parking, looking at the current code requires 1 space per employee, 1 space per 1 space per employee, and 1 space per 150 square feet of gross floor area of building. So when you look at what Carvana estimates 12 to 15 employees, so 15 spaces for their employees, another 146 spaces for the total building square footage is what's required currently. Wow. So as Taylor mentioned, we're providing 63 spaces on site. We have a shortfall of 83 spaces. We also looked at, as Taylor mentioned, the proposed amendment, the proposed local law for the update to the city code's parking requirements. When you look at that, there's a minimum and a maximum parking requirement in there right now as it's currently written. The minimum parking requirement would lead you to 59 required parking spaces, with a maximum of 98 spaces. So the 63 falls within that range, and we would be code compliant under that new local law if and when it's passed. The other thing we took a look at, as Taylor mentioned also, was the ITE data. Institute of Transportation Engineers provides industry data for, in this case, an automobile sales, used car sales type use, which is what this is. Again, it's different than what Carvana's use, or Carvana's planned operations are. It's more of this would be more, the ITE data would be more towards a typical used car sales as you're used to. But in that case, ITE actually recommends almost exactly what your city code, the new local law would recommend, which is between 60 and 98 parking spaces. So almost the same exact numbers. And again, the 63 that we're proposing would fall in that range. Getting to Carvana's actual operations, we would have 15 spaces for employees. We're also proposing 7 designated spaces for their single car haulers that will also do some deliveries out of this location. And then 7 spaces for customers. So all told, we're looking at 29 minimum required parking spaces. The other 34 spaces that we would have left over would be really for storage of vehicles before when they come in from delivery, before they get delivered directly to the customer, whether it's via those single car haulers or pick up at the site. And as Taylor mentioned, a lot of the deliveries here are all pre-planned. They can be they're pre-scheduled in certain time slots, so the amount of customers on the site at any one time is going to be very limited. That's the general rundown of the parking requirements here, and what we see. We really think that the 63 spaces is more than sufficient to provide what's needed for Carvana's use. And I'm also happy if there are any questions on circulation or things like access, we did look at that as well, but I think the focus was on parking here. So.
I guess you've been asked to do something. The problem with Healy was you never knew where anybody was coming in or out. So you're driving and somebody's coming out. And I always felt that it was a little unsafe. Mm-hmm. So are you going to have Did I hear that?
Yeah.
That you're going to have designated places in and designated
Yes,
places?
I can try to describe that a little bit for you, just so if I had the plans up, it would be great. But so at the northerly end of the site, we're proposing to have an access designated there that would be basically for employees only, for use by employees coming in and out and the car haulers coming in and out. Towards the middle southerly end of the site, that would be generally your customer access, two-way access there. And then in the middle of the site, in between those 2 points, right now, I'm sure you know there's like a one-way entry-exit loop that Healy used to use for, like, I think their service drop-off and pickup, right? So the entry portion of that is going to go away completely. It'll be blocked off with curb stops in that area. And then the exit portion, which actually aligns with one of the service bays that's there, will still remain for use. It'll only be used, that'll be kind of like the customer experience bay, that nearest bay to that exit driveway. And that exit driveway will remain for people when they pick up their cars, they'll exit through that specific driveway. So at the end of the day, between the planters that we're proposing to put in, the curb stops, the curb frontage along there, or the pavement frontage, is going to be significantly different. You're really going to have designated 3 locations where cars can come in and out, instead of the completely open frontage that it is today.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, that's this customer entrance, customer exits
Yeah.
are clear.
That's my
Is it
comment.
going to go all the way over to the end of the Healy lot? No. Okay, that's what I thought. It's going to, because there's that whole area of parking that goes up next to Lanks.
Right, so it does go to, so not Lank's side, but there's also the old Ford dealership. So
Right.
there is, this property only runs to just beyond the edge of the existing Hyundai building. And then that's a totally separate lot. That's 420, I believe, 420 Fishkill Avenue. So there's a lot north of it that's not a part of this application, but it does extend, that's actually the loading area almost down towards Lanks.
Oh, okay,
That's what
so
the
that
loading area
is
is.
part of the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lanks is not part of the application, of
No,
course,
I know.
but
No, but I
effectively the
just- as
border with
reference,
Lanks.
that
Yes.
side.
Yeah, yep. And we have, some other things I thought I'd mention, just because the planning board had kind of discussed them. These vehicles, unlike a used car dealer or a car dealership, these cars aren't going to sit on the lot for days. They're 24 hour, like the max, I think, time that they're going to be on site is about 24 hours, because the point is, they're coming in, Judy's going to come pick up her car, and she's out in 15 minutes.
After they get detailed.
After they get detailed, that's an important point.
A
So
Maserati.
they do them all, sorry, Rich. So that's it, right?
Where do they do returns? Say somebody picks up a car and decides they don't want it.
I'm General Dannon with Carvana. As far as returns go, if someone's not happy with the vehicle that they purchased, we'll arrange to do a pickup at their home or work or wherever they want to surrender the car back to us. We'll take the vehicle and we'll ship it out to our IC. At that point, they'll have an option to either shop again online and find a different vehicle.
But it doesn't go back to
No, but it
that
won't be
site.
coming back to us. No.
Okay.
Other questions from the board?
Yeah, I'm interested just because it sounds very positive that the traffic implications of this are very significant.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't get into specific details of the exact traffic that this is going to generate, but when you compare it to what was there before from Healy, it's certainly significantly less. And like, again, it's very pre-planned, right? So the fact that you're buying a car online, then you're selecting a time slot to come pick that up, Carvana can control how many people are on site at any one time coming in and out as far as customers go.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine about this because it's sort of, it's fascinating independently of the zoning issues. And I said, it sounds more like a dentist office than a hospital.
In scale.
Yeah, it is not your traditional car dealership because of the programming. You're absolutely right. It is like you're making an appointment, you're there for the period of time. And
like
it
a
does
warehouse
a lot
almost.
of control. Some of the other things the planning board talked about, just for the benefit of the board, Healy, I guess, used to use the panic button to find the cars, but that's because you might have 10 Hyundai Elantras, and you don't, these are all, you're gonna have Audi 1, Toyota B, they're all gonna be different vehicles, and Carvana's agreed not to use the panic button. I guess that incensed some neighbors, which understandably so that's something that is not going to be utilized here. So that was something that was brought up, and again, we've had a lot of discussions with planning board to help, again, sort of completely refine this application and sort of contemplate the future. It's not required in zoning, but what could be coming in the corridor. So it is sort of trying to consider all of those things as it, moves forward.
Any other questions from the board?
Not for the applicant.
Open it up to the public? Remember, 5-minute limit? All right, nobody here from the public? Can I have a motion to
Close the
close the
public.
public?
Motion to close the public
Judy?
hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Let's go through the factors, okay? We'll go
Can I
one-
just ask George one
Of
question?
course you can.
This is general business district, that's what it's zoned. If the variance stays for the life of the property, what else could go in there that could use this variance?
Well, so the variance is for, all of our resolutions have a provision, the variance is being granted solely in connection with this application for this specific purpose, and does not apply to any future work that may fall within it. So,
Because we have had that come up before, where variances
Run with the
granted
land.
yes,
years ago
yes.
come back and,
This would be tied to the Carvana project, and then also to Taylor's point, if the city council proceeds with the changes.
oh, yeah, no,
Then the variance is,
Moot.
yeah, absolutely. So, to the extent that there's any concern about that, it's almost like taken care of.
okay.
Unless Carvana plans to build and leave in 3 weeks or whatever it is.
Oh, no, I wasn't, I was just,
Yeah,
And they're committed to be in the space tomorrow, given the opportunity.
yeah.
Okay, we'll go through the factors, but I also just want to throw out there, I should have said this in the beginning, but we are a 5-member board. There's only 4 members tonight. You'll need 3 out of the 4 of us to get approval to move forward. With that, we usually extend a courtesy. If you want to continue, if you want to defer to when we are 5. I will say, though, next month I am not here, so I know
It's the summer.
I know we'll be no more than 4 next month.
Right.
So just want to throw,
Thank
do
you.
you want us to proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's go through those factors. 1, as to whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a deterrent to nearby properties will be created by granting this area variance. The board finds?
No,
No?
I
think it'll
agree.
be an
No, it's
improvement.
going to be less than what.
I agree. I think it's an improvement.
And I agree too. 2, as to whether the benefit the application seeks can be achieved through another method feasible for the applicant to pursue that does not require an area variance. The board finds?
no.
I can't think of any way they could do it.
Subterranean, that's the only.
No wonder.
I agree as well.
That's right, but
No
one of those
issue.
car elevators, yeah.
As to whether this variance is substantial, the board finds,
As the law stands now, yes.
as the law stands now,
No,
substantial. Okay?
I would have said, no, it's not substantial, but
It's a
I'm
lot
going
of
to go
parking
along with you. It
spaces.
really, according to the law right this
Yeah,
minute,
yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's substantial, but it's substantial to the benefit of the community, actually.
And I will say as well, just always a reminder, substantiality is not purely mathematical, so the numbers could be substantial, but as Taylor has mentioned, it's in the letter as well, impacts to the community itself are also considered for substantiality.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because that's where I was going to go. Although the number is mathematically high, I don't see the ask as substantial. I see the benefit of it weighing out and minimizing, therefore not making it substantial. Yeah. Okay. 4, as to whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or the district. The board finds?
No.
No.
No,
Agreed, no. Okay. As to whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, the board finds.
Yes.
Yes,
It's always,
it's always
always
self-created.
celebrated.
Yes.
In this case.
All right. With that said, do I have a motion to approve or deny the variance?
Before we get there, sorry, is this is it or is it not the minimum necessary to preserve and protect the character?
Huh, good point. I must have missed that in the resolution draft here. Elaine?
Yes.
Minimum? Is it the minimum?
Yeah, I would
Yeah, I
imagine
think
it is.
so.
I think it's the
gonna-
minimum for the business that they want to do, yeah, so, but I don't see it as a detriment. My comments aren't intended to be a detriment on that. Okay, with that said, do I have a motion to approve or deny?
Make a motion to approve variance?
Motion approved by Judy.
Second.
Stowe, second. Elaine?
Aye.
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 Approved?
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Well done, Acting Chairman.
And the usual condition, right, 6 months from the last
Thank you.
disapproval.
Thank you.
And all that, and Bruce, you don't need anything else, right? All right, great, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Unless anybody objects, we have a motion to close the public hearing of the ZBA this evening?
I don't see any objection, do you?
Motion to close.
Enjoy the warm weather.
Okay. Elaine and stuff. Thank you all. I wish you a good evening.
Yeah, good luck.